Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Unity Radiant Light. I'm Reverend Cherie Ruffo, and it's Sunday, August 21st, 2022. Today, we're continuing our 12 layers of the DNA series with layer number 11, Compassionate Layer with Archangel Uriel. And I can't believe we're at the 11th week of so far already, and we've explored all these layers of the DNA. We've learned more about the archangels associated with them, opened ourselves up to healing, and just to opening our lives up by activating these DNA layers. And we started off with the earth layers, the biological layers, and moved into the Lemurian layers, which is from our past. We've opened our Akashic records, which the Akashic records are the records of the lifetimes that we've had before, the skills that we have, what we've come here to be, what our contract is. So I just invite you to, as now we are into this our fourth grouping of the God layers. We're looking today at layer number 11, which has really been known to be one of the tougher layers because so we're getting into something that I think we all agree with on Earth, but we could use more compassion in our lives, right? We could have, there's not a lot of compassion here right now. Many societies are built on being critical of other people and not accepting people. You know, it's easy to accept the people that are like us and have the same belief systems. It's a little bit harder though, isn't it? When we're invited to like somebody who maybe can push our buttons, has completely different belief system. And I think this fall and this year, we've seen a lot of need for compassion. As we see what's happening in the Ukraine, happening around the world, it's about us becoming more compassionate for each other and understanding that even though we have different belief systems, we don't have to fight about it. We can live in peace. When November comes, we can actually even vote for different people and still be okay with that. And these things don't have to play a role in how we live our lives. Now, this 12th layer of the DNA, the 11, is 11, if you know numerology, is the master number. It's the first master number that we have. And it's called the master number because it's 1 and 1. 22 is another one, 33, 44. These are all master numbers and they mean something. So the 11 means illumination. And we have a lot of illumination happening on the planet, you know, with everything that's being revealed right now, but inside of ourselves too, there's a lot of illumination going on. And it's known to be the wise divine feminine. And it's interesting that it's paired with Uriel because Uriel is known to be basically divine masculine, but we're going to talk about that later, the balance that brings. So it's named the wise divine feminine, though, that originally got that grouping and that name because most in the indigenous populations, most of the shamans, religious leaders or healers were women. So the healing and that creative force that comes from that is from the wise divine feminine. We know that as we've studied these layers, we've talked a lot about the Pleiadians, how in the indigenous populations, the Pleiades, the star grouping that's 400 light years away, are thought to be our missing link. That came here and we had some of their genetic coding, which brought the divinity into us. So we know that the divine is within us in every cell. And so the wise divine feminine in the indigenous populations also came from the Lemurian star mothers who are believed to have been here and some believe are still here. And it's about compassion. So we can see where we know when we talk about the divine feminine, we're talking about compassion and healing, creation itself, because where do children come from? They're created within us, right? So this is about creation. And like the number 10 divine layer, we have to call it in. This is something, compassion is something, yes, we have it, it's innate within us. But if we want that true compassion, and we're going to talk more about that, the 7th dimensional level compassion, we need to call it in. We need to set an intention for it, to have it as one of our layers. to live it. And we have to understand that compassion, when we talk about all the other layers that we've looked at, is entangled with all the other layers. It's a part of who we are. And what we're doing here when we're calling in the divine compassion today is we were asking for the pure compassion of the mother. So this layer is the most powerful force in the universe. Compassion is the most powerful force that there is of all humanity. And the reason that we have it combined, and which we'll get into more with Uriel, is because when we talk about compassion, it's not just for women. So we call in the divine masculinity of the 11th, this chakra that we're opening today. This is our gateway of the divine masculine, because divine feminine isn't meant to just live in us. Then we have that separation. We are meant as human beings to have a balance, a divine feminine, a divine masculine within us. So when we combine those two together, we have compassion, and it has compassion with the masculine energy. It softens the heart for both genders, for common sense solutions. The divine masculine brings in the common sense solutions. And it's the full birth of this new energy that's on our planet, this perfect balanced energy. So how many of you have had trials lately? Is it just me? How many of us have seen trials in the world this year? How many of you had amazing things happen? Well, we live between the two places in compassion. So, and one of the things when we say, well, I'm living a compassionate life. Well, one of the things we have to ask ourselves is, can I be a more compassionate person? Can I have more compassion in my life? Can I have more compassion for people around me, the world around me? But also ask yourself the question, can you have more compassion for yourself? Are you compassionate with yourself? And I find that's where we see people saying, wow, you know what? I really need to work on that. Compassion, people say, what does that really mean? Do unto others like you would do unto you. And sometimes we do unto others nicer than we do unto ourselves, right? So with that self-compassion, we have to really think, okay, be as kind to myself as I might be kind to others too. We're going to be working on a new strategic plan this fall, building up, working with our community to decide what direction, where are we going as Unity Radiant Light? And one of the things I would love to see is for us to put the challenge in front of ourselves to create and have fun with this. Get a group together who's willing to create a charter for compassion for us, Unity Radiant Light. Because we are a place of compassion, but where do we want to go? What are our belief systems? We're going to be setting out our beliefs that we don't believe in, all the things we don't believe in too, like racism and so many other things. We support equity for all, diversity, equity, all of those things. We're going to be having that. But I would like to see us go a step further and develop a charter for compassion for our organization, for ourselves, one that we can walk into, one that maybe there's some room for growth. And we can challenge ourselves to step into it, to stretch into this compassion. What can we do to show up in the world just a little bit more compassionate, to bring more of this into our world? But to do this, as we talk about this morning, I want to briefly talk about what compassion is not. It's not about not correcting bad behavior. It's not about accepting things that are wrong. It's not about being a doormat. No, being compassionate doesn't mean wear those things. Sometimes being compassionate is standing up for those things that people are stepping on because we're compassionate. We see that more and more. And I was thinking about that. I think about, what we saw. I watched with the movie Selma on the bridge in Selma, Alabama, when people came from all over. And it wasn't just African Americans. I know there was a group from Boston that came down that were Caucasian that walked the bridge. And they did that because of compassion. They did that because they were saying, we're going to stand up for this belief. that all people are equal. We're going to stand up for that diversity. When, the Pride festivals in June are so much fun, and it's not just LGBTQ plus community out there. It's people coming from all over, because celebrating the diversity, celebrating that people get to be themselves, more themselves. And as we move forward as an organization, I would love to see us put that to paper. So if anybody's interested in doing that with us this fall, let me know, and let's have some fun with it. So what does being a compassionate community mean? Being a more compassionate community. The most important thing is that being compassionate is we're moved by something. So when we see something and we feel something for someone, we just feel really moved by it. It allows us to respond from a place of love. It allows us to sometimes we can never step into another person's shoes, but we can come from a place of understanding, even when we completely disagree with what they're saying. Sometimes we just have to say, we're going to agree to disagree. I can still love you, but have compassion, because knowing that that person is probably doing the best they can. They've grown up in a different belief system, and maybe it's not the same as ours, and maybe we don't agree, but it doesn't mean we can't be compassionate to one another. We live in a society now that catastrophizes everything. Oh my gosh. If a certain person gets elected, the world's over. If another person gets elected, the world's over. We're demonizing things. Everything's we see a lot of the extremes on the media. We're not seeing the middle, where I believe most of us live. And I believe that comes from putting God out there, to praying to a God that's out there. As we have to pray a certain way, we're going to go to hell. We have to, because God's out there and God's judging us. But when we truly understand that we're praying from inside, because God is inside in every cell of our body, we have this divinity that lives in us. That blesses us with more compassion within us. Because if God lives in us in every cell of our body, then God's living in everybody. Everything is as us. And, we need to talk about that in the first and second principle, unity principles. God is everywhere present. God is good. But the second principle goes on to say that means that God is living within everyone. And when we're around a compassionate person, we can all think of a real compassionate person, right? And I imagine that just walking in the midst of Jesus during his time must have been an incredible experience. It was not a very compassionate society back then either. And to be near someone who just embodied that, probably you could feel it. People were healed in his presence because of it. And we feel that when we're around people who are compassionate, are coming from the heart, because we're not living from the mind. Now, as we're going to talk about with Archangel Uriel, it's about logic. But when we combine that with the heart, then we have that perfect balance. And as we talked about last week, we are moved into now the spirit. So we're at the universal gateway today. And we are on the 12th chakra, sorry. I think I said 11 earlier. And this is pure spirit. We've gone above and beyond everything that's in our body, but we can open up these gateways, and this one with compassion, and it can be embodied on this planet. In Luke chapter 6, verse 32, it says, if you love those who love you, what benefit is that to you? For even sinners love those who love them. So our challenge when we think about this week is, how are we loving those who don't think like us? How are we loving those who are not like us? Can we be more compassionate? When we think about it, doesn't mean we can't stand up for things, go to rallies, speak out on what we believe in. But what is our belief system for those who have a different belief system than ourselves? Compassion is to look beyond your own pain and see the pain of others. Sometimes when we get so into maybe an argument, a disagreement that we're having with somebody, we don't understand that their viewpoint also may come from a point of pain. And just talking about it You know, sometimes I say to people, you know, I may not agree with you, but I can just love you in this moment. And that's where we are. Mother Teresa said the fruit of love is service, which compassion in action. When we serve, we're out there in the community, trying to make the world a better place, solve problems, compassion in action. That's love. We can surround ourselves with the risk takers, storytellers, creators, truth seekers, artists, adventurers, dream makers, but mostly surround yourself with the people who draw that same magic out of you. Because when we combine, we talked about Archangel Jeremiah, which was about creativity. If you can call in both, we can have compassion in action and do the doing part of this. I associate this Archangel Uriel most closely with the power of will, for us making the decision to do something, power of divine will, making a good decision, doing it with love, calling an Archangel Jeremiah so we can have the creativity that goes with it. And it's very strong because then you have the balance in the feminine, divine masculine. And we have to remember that we can't heal the world today. I mean, I know we could if we really all put our minds to it, but it's not where we're at. But we can begin with a voice of compassion, a heart of love, an act of kindness. And when we do that, we're embodying that compassion. We're not being discouraged because we haven't solved the problems today, but we're taking action with that. We're making that difference. And we can do that with Archangel Uriel, the logic that comes from that we use, and then combine it with our heart chakra, which we're going to do in the meditation. So it becomes beautiful compassion because it's got the balance. If you're also the thing to know about Archangel Uriel, if you're having trouble with compassion, or you're having trouble focusing on studying, or maybe you're working on a project and you can't focus, Archangel Uriel can help with that because it's the divine masculine logic and can help us bring that in. So if you're having trouble with your memory, you can ask Archangel Uriel to help with that too. Because what Archangel Uriel does with the divine masculinity, this divine compassion too, is we're opening ourselves up to the seventh dimension power, where we have compassion as an action word, but it has no boundaries. So we're opening up to this higher, a compassion that's been higher than something that most of our societies deal with. In the seventh dimension, when we talk about that, it's known mostly as being the home of the Christ consciousness, which we talk a lot about in unity. It's the essence of unconditional love. It's combining with the qualities that we think of as God, consciousness, compassion, empathy, generosity, truth. And part of this is forgiveness. If there's something we haven't let go of, it's time for us to really look at that and open our hearts up to forgiving someone else, a group of people, or even ourselves. So when you can connect to this archangel, the seventh dimension, you're connecting and you will find solutions and answers, healings that you may have had problem solving. So if you're a healer and you're connecting with and you're working with a client, and you're having trouble saying, I'm not getting quite what the solution is, or you can open your heart to that. And part of this is being able to go back into our Akashic records, open them up, and we have the answers there. Because if we're eternal beings, there's nothing we haven't done. One of the things that with the Lion's Gateway that opened on August 8th, we talked about this, and it's opening of, and it's affecting our solar plexus. A lot of people are feeling pain in that area, or growth, having sensations in that area. Well, this is all part of it, and Archangel Uriel can help with that, because when we bring that energy down through our chakras, from our stellar gateway all the way in, through our soul and our consciousness into the crown chakra, it can heal that conflict we might be feeling in that solar plexus. So if you're doing something creative and you're teaching, or you're doing something where you can use the compassion or logic, if we think of Archangel Uriel, but you could also look at all these other archangels we talked to and bring in all of that energy. This is a picture I found of Archangel Uriel. Somebody depicted it because it's the masculine, divine masculine. You'll see that in that picture. The stone that we associate with Archangel Uriel and compassion is the star ruby. And it's so pretty. I love that star that you can see in the middle. It just feels really mystical and healing. So as we're going to be spending a little bit longer in meditation this morning, we're going to be opening ourselves up. We have all of our chakras from our base and our foot. We've been activating and balancing. And we're going to be moving up into this domain this morning, where we're going to be activating Archangel Uriel and all of the seventh dimensional energies that we have. And don't worry if you think, wow, now we're going to get weird, or this is something that I don't know if I'm ready for. We're setting the intention as we go into meditation to just open ourselves up to what we're ready for, to expand a little bit more. If you want to expand more than that, set that intention, because remember, we have to set the intention for this. It doesn't just happen. So right now, think about, what we'd like to see. Compassion. Let's think about compassion in ourselves, what we'd like to achieve, compassion in the world. What is it that we want to achieve with that? And as we start to move into meditation, we'll be setting that intention. We'll be opening those gateways, and we're going to be opening up, going up a little higher. We're going to be moving into that realm of nothing, nowhere, no time. And that's what we always talk about, as some people call it the void, the vortex, the absolute, whatever it is that we have. We're moving into that is beyond where our body, it's beyond, it's what we've always had an ability to do. So just allow yourself to open it up as much as you want. I'm just so grateful to be on this journey with all of you, and to be opening these portals to compassion and moving forward as a community. We are a compassionate community, but I know that we can put our heads together and become more compassionate, become more loving to each other, to our community, to the world. And by doing that, we know we're entering that oneness and helping solve the lack of compassion on the planet, because we're becoming it. We're not fighting anything. We are becoming it. And that's what this is about. Yes, when we talk about the divine masculine, it's about doing. And we talk about the divine feminine, it's about being. We're bringing those together. So we are being, but we are doing too at the same time. So I invite you to say our affirmation this morning, our own. I honor the divine love that exists within you, within me, and with all creation. We are all one. This is the 484 hertz that we're going to be doing in the meditation. We're going to, as we go into the silence. I could only find one example of it. It's a beautiful one. But as we go through the meditation this morning, we're going to be setting our intentions. And then what we need to do with this hertz is just rest in it. Just allow that frequency to move through you and from where you are. And I'll be playing it softly in the background as we go into the silence. So this divine feminine, this divine masculine, this stellar gateway that we've arrived at. Let's just rest with that. Let's take a nice deep breath in, all the way down into that solar plexus, and breathe out. Take another deep breath down, all the way down. And as we breathe out, let us breathe out judgments, things that are not kind. And you can breathe on your own now as we do this. we're going to be releasing these things, not only from ourselves, but from our community, from our world. Starting with our base chakra, we're moving up. We're feeling the energy from Gaia coming into that base chakra, into the balls of our feet, coming up through us. We're giving and receiving into our first chakra. Feel that balancing into the second chakra. It's a reproductive area. We feel balancing, a sense of peace. Up into the third chakra, that solar plexus, and we feel that expansion in it. Expansion of the world, this new energy that is on our planet. We feel the wisdom of it. We feel we are open to receive the messages from it. But into our heart chakra, love and compassion, we feel and we know that all of this is done in love. We feel that heart expansion. You might feel a tingling around it. My hands are tingling now because I can feel the energy from all of you. This beautiful energy, this heart, love energy. Up into our throat chakra. Is there anything you're not saying? Anything you need to let go of? Release it. Into our third eye. Accepting that we are much more than what we see. Opening this third eye to all that we are, to all that we can achieve, to beyond, living beyond the five senses, living beyond the six senses, because there's so much more. To our crown chakra. We're feeling that. We're opening to the higher chakras, the galactic center, feeling that energy coming in. It's coming in from our feet, coming in from the crown chakra, giving and receiving. And as we begin the journey into our soul star, you set the intention to move beyond what we know of as just the physical. We've opened that up into this gateway. We feel the energy. The fifth dimension. We open to this dimension of light, this first dimension, beyond what we can see on a normal basis. Traveling up to the sixth dimension, divine feminine. Opening up, you might see the color silver. Into this universal, into this gateway. We have opened it, universal gateway. Divine masculine, as we feel the logic in the heart of the sixth and seventh, this pure combination. We set the intention right now to open compassion. The core of the galaxy, from the place of love that we are. Allowing it just to envelop every cell in our body. We are divine compassion. This divine compassion is healing us on every level. It is us. We open our hearts to it more. Just allow your heart to open just a little bit wider. And as we sit in the quiet, you may have a vision. A lot of people say that when we open the seventh dimension, they have visions or remembrances from Atlantis and Egypt, or whatever. You may have something that comes out of your Akashic records. Just sit with it, but mostly just be in this energy. And our doing is the being compassion. As we sit and we listen to this hertz, 43 hertz, just allow it to envelop you. And now as we move into, as we sit in this healing energy, I just invite you to let go. And we're going to stay in the silence for a few moments as you move into the field of nowhere, no thing, no time. Some people call it the vortex. Some call it the void. This is our home. As you move into it and just rest in the silence. As we now ask Archangel Uriel to repattern those things in us that are not in alignment, maybe through health or prosperity, as we just set the intention for the repatterning and let it go. as we allow this repatterning of every aspect of our lives for our body temple, for health, prosperity in every area. For this inner joy, we feel it with a new pattern, bigger and brighter. Peace and love. You are love. Archangel Uriel is the sacred key, the golden ray of creation through Metatron's cube. That means within us, in the design of humanity. This is us. This is Archangel Uriel working with us to ignite that, to allow us to be more of what we truly are. As we feel this golden ray of light streaming from Archangel Uriel into your solar plexus, feel it all the way traveling down the chakras, opening your consciousness to live a better life of abundance, health, love, all the things. We are in this field of creation. And as we breathe into that, we just say, yes, I accept these things. And as we come back, begin to come back, the stellar gateway, as we start to feel our consciousness returning to the seventh dimension. Now, don't have to lose the good feelings of this. We don't have to lose what we've learned. This remains with us. This consciousness is open into the sixth dimension, into the fifth dimension. It's our soul star. It is open. As we feel it perfectly aligned with our crown chakra, we become more aware of our body. And we know that even if we're not always sitting in that void or vortex, that this is our consciousness. This is part of our innate. We can never not be connected. As we open our hearts a little wider, we feel that connection stronger, our solar plexus responding, all the organs around it, the healing. We say thank you. Thank you for this healing, opening, for all the love in my life that is seen and maybe not even be seen yet. For this compassion that we are. And we join our compassion, we are all together as we release it into the world, healing the things that need to be healed, revealing those things that really need to be revealed, but with compassion. We are a spiritual center that is beyond four walls. We are love in action. We are compassion. So we hold those prayer requests that have come in, the ones seen and not seen, maybe the ones that you're holding in your heart. We say thank you because we know that healing has already occurred. And we are so grateful. The guides, the masters, the archangels, who selflessly teaching us, the teachers, and to our Jesus, the way shower, for coming here to teach us these things. We have so much gratitude in our hearts. And so it is.